Well, good evening. I pray that you've had a good day this Wednesday. Continuing to pray that the Lord will bless you through it. I want to read from you from 1 Kings, studying it this week, and something came to my mind after I studied a few things, read a few things about Solomon. We all know wisest man there ever was and ever will be, because the Lord gave him a special gift of wisdom. Didn't turn out so well when he ended up, did it? Let's talk about that, all right? I'm going to read 1 Kings 3:5, 9:2, and 11:9, and I'm going to talk about each one of them as I go through them. First of all, 1 Kings chapter 3 and verse 5, and it says, "At Gibeon the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, 'Ask, what shall I give you?'" Can you imagine being in that place where God comes to you in a dream and says, "Ask whatever you want"? And God was impressed with Solomon because he was new at his kingship. He was young, and he asked for wisdom. And the Lord was impressed with him because he didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for strength. He didn't ask to conquer all the nations. He didn't ask for stuff. He just wanted wisdom in order to be able to judge God's people. And again, the Lord was impressed with that and ended up telling him, "Okay, you get that, plus I'm going to bless you beyond measure." And God did that. He blessed him beyond measure. But I want you to take note that he came to him in a dream, and God spoke to him personally. This wasn't an angel coming to him. This wasn't just a dream. This was the Lord coming to him in a dream. God coming to him. Okay, now we go to chapter 9, verse 2. It says that the Lord appeared to Solomon the second time as he appeared to him at Gibeon. Not only once, but twice the Lord came to Solomon in a dream. The Lord himself came to him and spoke to him. Solomon had built the temple. He had offered it to the Lord and made a great prayer, a great supplication to the Lord, asking him to bless it, to be there in it. And he, in his wisdom, he said, "When your people disobey you, and they are taken into captive land, when they realize what they've done, and they cry out to you for forgiveness, please forgive them." And he made all kinds of inquiries of God and asked God for many, many things that way. And when God was talking to him, and he basically ended up telling him, "Okay, I will do what you ask, but there's a condition." Said, "As long as you follow my precepts, as long as you make me the only God you serve, as long as I am the God that you serve and there are no others, and you follow my commandments, then all of these things are yours, and the lineage of David will continue and never end." What a great promise. What a great thing. But it puts a lot of responsibility on Solomon. And life goes on, and Solomon gets richer and richer and richer and richer and richer and richer and richer. More powerful. Amazing how rich and how powerful. It said that silver was so common that it was useless because they dealt in gold. That's how rich they were. His people were, and the Israelites were just blessed beyond measure. Anything they could desire, they had. And then we look at chapter 11, and we go to verse 9. And this is sad to read. It says, "So the Lord became angry with Solomon because his heart had turned from the Lord God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice." Again, God came in a dream and spoke to Solomon twice. So God himself spoke to him and gave him clear instruction. But after the riches, after the wealth, after the fame, after the fortune, all of these things, then Solomon started worshiping idols, marrying people that he shouldn't be marrying, doing things that he should not do. And God became angry with him. And it just breaks your heart to think that the man that is the wisest person in all the world that it ever will be had this to be the end of what he did, instead of following what God told him and becoming more and more like his father David, who the word says he was a man after God's own heart. And Solomon started out that way, and yet all the stuff began to change him. And I just want to talk to you just a minute tonight about that perfect thing, that exact thing. Because in us, when we are first saved many times, we don't know what we're doing, like Solomon is a king, and we rely on God for everything. We learn to hear his voice. We learn to trust what he says. We read the scriptures and we obey the scriptures, doing everything we can to the best of our ability to obey the Lord and follow the scriptures and what they teach us. And as time goes on, we grow and we flourish, and we get a little more accustomed to our Christian lifestyle, and then we begin to ask God for stuff, ask God for things, for blessings, for different things, because we feel more comfortable asking, because we're more in tune with God. We're more intimate with him. We've known him more, and we know that we can trust him, and we know that he loves us and loves to give good gifts. And then it seems the more God blesses, the more we have the tendency to turn away from him, to not hear his voice so often, to desire things, our own will, our own ways. We get comfortable with God. And that's a dangerous place to be. The Bible tells us not to fear the devil, not to fear the things that this world can do to you, not to fear man. He said, don't fear those things. Fear the one who can destroy the body and cast the soul into everlasting darkness. God's the only one that we should fear. And I understand that when we become close to him and he treats us as the father, as the daddy, and we know we can trust him, that sometimes we abuse that privilege and we get so comfortable with him that we think we can get by with stuff. You don't get by with stuff with God. He sees everything. He knows every motive of the heart. He knows every thought and the intent of the heart. He knows it all, and he knows why you do it. And we have to be careful, especially in these days when there's so much availability of any and everything that we could desire. Of course, a lot of stuff we don't have the money to do, but our heart's desires can control us, even if we don't have the finances to do it, because that's why the world is in as much debt as they are. That's why most people are in as much debt as they are, which the Bible tells us, again, don't be indebted to anyone. But we, again, throw that to the side and, God, we have to do this because otherwise we won't have anything. And I understand that point. I lived it for too many years. But we have to be careful not to get so comfortable with God that we end up like Solomon, worshiping things, going about our own life, feeling so comfortable with God that we disrespect his word, disrespect his house. God has spoke to us many times that, and I've seen this so many times in other churches, and I've heard other pastors talk about this, that the church is like a movie theater a lot of times. You bring in your soft drink and your popcorn, and you have service and you enjoy service because everybody wants to enjoy the service. There has to be a place of respect for the Lord. There has to be a cutoff somehow to where, yes, the Lord wants you to be comfortable in his house, and you don't have to wear suit and tie, but you need to give him your best dress, your best attitude, your best worship. Everything you give him needs to be the best that you have. And we need to be watchful. And that's just, I just want you to think about what Solomon went to, the wisest man in the world, what happened to him. And don't think that it can't happen to you, because when the Lord blesses, when the Lord ministers, when the Lord works with you, because he does work hand in hand with us, then it's so easy for us to get comfortable with God. And we never need to get comfortable with God, because he is so much more than we can ever know or imagine. We need to love him, and he loves us. He tells us that. But we need to show respect, and we need to fear the Lord. And if we do that, then we don't have to worry about falling into the pit that Solomon and so many others have fallen into. So many other ministers who have started out small and gotten big, and they ended up falling. Not to say you can't come back to the Lord, but there's a great price. And I don't want you to have to pay that price. I don't want to have to pay that price. It's too great. It's too great, because it hurts the heart of the one who saved you and the one that saved me. And so we just need to be careful, be watchful, so that we always respect the Lord God and fear him. I love you, and I pray that God will stir your heart and cause you to draw closer to him and to fear him, because that's when you're secure. I love you. Bye-bye.